this is a hybrid game because we have these 6 books, right? FKNORT, FKNORT, and we're trying to order them. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 1. But we're also trying to decide whether they were summarized or not, right? So that's going to be another row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so down here I have summarized or not summarized, and then up here I have the 6 books. It says no 2 books are summarized consecutively, so we're not going to have 2 S's ever. If N is not summarized, R and T are. So if N is summarized, R and T are not summarized, right? If N is discussed earlier than T and T is discussed earlier than O, shoot, I'm not giving myself a lot of room here. Well, anyways, so what was it? N is earlier than T and T is earlier than O. So NTO, did we link them together? Definitely want to do that. F is discussed earlier than O, so F has to come sometime before O, and O is earlier than K and R, so K and R come after. Everyone is in this setup, right? So there's no floaters. Which variable is the most constrained variable in this game?
I think you got that N rule wrong, didn't you? N is not summarized, R and T are summarized.
Oh, did I do it backwards?
Mm-hmm.
N is not summarized. Sorry. So N is not summarized, then these 2 are summarized. Thank you. Okay, cool. So of these rules, of these variables, which one is the most constrained? O, right? O is bound by everything, right? So that's going to force O to go here in the 4th slot because it has 3 before and 2 after. We okay with that? Mm-hmm. And so then that's going to force K and R to go in the last 2 slots. So K and R are going back and forth here. We don't know where they go. And then N, T, and F are in the first 3 slots, right? The only constraint is that N has to come before T, making F a floater effectively in the first 3. How many options are there in the first 3 slots? How many different possibilities?
2.
How did you get 2?
Because everything else has to come either before N or before F.
I would get 3.
I mean after.
Because I'm looking at F right now, right? F could go first, and then you'd have NT. F could go second, you could have NT. F could go third, and then you could have NT, right? So there's 3 options there. And then there are 2 options back here. So how many options are there total?
Oh, I thought you said which ones could go first.
Oh, yes, 2. Only 2 could go first, F or N.
9.
How'd you get 9?
There's 3 ways to set up the first 3 and 3 ways to set up the second 3. So there's 3 choices.
Yeah, so I'm going to get 6 with that, right? Because it's either KR or RK. If it's KR, you have 3, and if it's RK, you have 3.
Yeah.
So then 6. Not that we need to figure that, just curious. You know, sometimes these games get pretty constrained. And this game is already pretty constrained if there's only 6 options total. Now, of course, we're going to have to take into account the summarization, and that might limit it even more, right? Which questions did we find challenging?
16.
Okay, 11 and 16. Let's.
Or no, I mean, 14.
14. 11's not here.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the other game using this diagram, and let me tell you. Okay, so 14, is that what we said? Okay. So if O is summarized, which of the following cannot be true? So 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to use the top and bottom. We know O is here. We have K and R going back and forth. We have summarized, right? K and R, we don't know their order. So we know that whatever goes here is not going to be summarized, right? And this is not going to be summarized because you can't have summarization consecutive. But we don't know whether that's K or R. You cool? Okay. Now it says, which one of the following cannot be true? Cannot happen. What do you think about A? Gut reaction.
It's fine.
The thing about this is that these things are pretty free to do whatever they want, right? Until we start worrying about summarization. But right now, we don't know who's going to be summarized or not here. So it's hard to tell whether this rule is implicated yet or not, right? Like, if R ends up being summarized, then this rule doesn't matter. But if R ends up being not summarized, what do we know must be true?
R and T have to be summarized.
And
N is summarized.
Then N would have to be summarized. So like, it's not that both of them would have to be summarized, but this rule is saying that if N is not summarized, right, then these two are summarized.
I think I'm just not hearing what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew that.
Okay, so if R is not summarized, then we would know that N has to be to avoid triggering. Okay, cool. So, but we don't even know that yet because R could be summarized or not. So, when they say F is the first book discussed, I'm like, it doesn't matter because this whole summarization thing may not trigger anything at all. And that's the same reaction I have to B. Right, B, K is the 6, okay, then K is 6. That's going to make R summarized, which when R is summarized, it doesn't tell us anything about this, so this doesn't matter, right? So the rule dies. But C, F is summarized.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said if K is there, then R has to be summarized. Does it have to be? Only one.
Oh,
has
no,
to
it
be.
doesn't have to be. It just,
But it could
like, if
be.
it were, yeah.
Okay.
See, if it were not summarized, that's where we'd get a problem.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden, oh, this is not summarized, that's going to make this summarized. And then I have to start worrying about this stuff, like, oh, where's it going to go? Because I don't want it to be there, because that can't be summarized, right? But as long as I can
that
make
is
that...
what's happening though, because the B is K is the 6th book discussed,
Yeah, so it's...
which pushes R to 5th.
Oh, I was
means
looking
that-
at this as
yeah.
6. Yeah, I'm like seriously botching this game right now. Okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right. So if R goes here, I don't know why I was seeing that as 6. But anyways, so that one, if K goes in 6, then R does become not summarized, right? And that matters. So if R is not summarized, then N is summarized. Is that a problem? We'd have to like play that out, right? So if N is summarized, where is it gonna go? First? First or second? Okay, so what happens if N is summarized and it goes first? Well, okay, so then it's summarized, right? And then we just have F and T left, and we both make them not summarized. Okay, so no problem. So, moving on, let's take a look at C. What happens if F is summarized? We say, okay, we have to avoid this because we don't want two summarizations in a row. So we put F in either one of these slots. Let's say we put F there, summarized. Is this okay? What's going to happen?
Then
N is in the summarized
and
spot.
then
Okay, N is going to be second,
Yeah.
right? Because you have NT. And then this becomes
No.
not summarized, right? And then what happens?
T has to be.
R and T have to be.
T has to be summarized. Because if N is not, then R and T are summarized. And so that's not going to work here. Now, I arbitrarily put F first, right? But if you put F second, because those are your only two options, first or second, because this one cannot be summarized, what happens when F is second? It's summarized. Where's N going to go? It's just going to go first, right? And is it going to be summarized or not?
Yeah.
Not summarized, because it's next to, it's still going to be next to F, right?
I thought you said F is not summarized. I don't know why you said that, but you said that. You said if you move F to second, it's not summarized.
No, I was just saying, I don't know what I said, but
Okay.
just moving F to second, because I arbitrarily put F first just to test it out, and that didn't work. But we're gonna run into the same problem, because even if you put F second, and keep in mind it's summarized because that's what answer choice C is saying. then N is going to come up here. It's going to be not summarized, which is then going to make T be summarized. So no matter how hard we try, we can't get F to be summarized in this particular scenario. So C is correct. All right. Was anyone tempted by D or E? Okay. Other questions? 16? Okay. So 16 is asking us to find a substitution. So we're going to get rid of FO and then KR, right? So this rule right here is gone. We're getting rid of that, and we want to replace it with something that's going to do the exact same thing. And remember, the wrong answers are what? For these questions. These substitution questions.
Things that do too much or too little.
Yeah, either the porridge is too hot or too cold. Yep, they do too much or too little. We're looking for an answer choice that's sufficient and necessary. A lot of the wrong answers might be necessary but not sufficient, or sufficient but not necessary. It's another way of thinking about it. So, answer choice A. T is discussed third. I'm going to stop right there. What's wrong with this?
Doesn't have to be third.
Doesn't have to be third. Under the old rules, T did not always have to be third. So the answer choice A is doing too much. B. D is discussed earlier than F. Or sorry, T is discussed earlier than F. What do you think about this? Let's just stop right there. If it's good, we'll keep going. If it's bad, we'll stop. Is this good or bad? Hmm? Bad. That didn't have to be true under the old rules, right? You could have had NTF, or you could have had NFT. Goes too far, does too much. This is wrong. C. K and R among the last three books discussed. Is this good or bad? Why do you say it's bad?
Well, they are among the last three, but they can't be in the third.
That's true. So this isn't saying that they can be in the third, in the fourth. But yeah, this is the fourth, right? Yeah, okay. So I guess what I'm thinking is right now is yeah, this is possible, and maybe something else about the rest of the rule will prevent K and R from going forth, right? So I'm thinking that doesn't sound strong enough, but let's keep going because it hasn't violated anything for sure, right? And then it says F is among the first three. Does that prevent K and R from going forth? No. So you're absolutely right. Now we know for sure it's not strong enough, so this is out. D. K and R are discussed in consecutive weeks. So far, so good? Good. Not necessarily in that order. Great. And O is discussed fourth. Okay, so if O is fourth, which was true before, and K and R are consecutive, and they are... is that going to force them to be in the last two slots?
No.
Katie?
Yes, because N and T have to still become before O.
Yeah, so this rule is not gone yet, right? So N and T come before O. So if O is fourth, then you have N and T up in these first three, and there's no way you could fit K and R up there because they're consecutive. They're like a block. And so you say, I can't fit this block here, so I have to put this block back here. So this seems like it's strong enough. Is it too strong? Is it creating things that weren't true before?
No.
No, this is all true before. This is the answer. So E, let's take a look at that really quickly. K and R are discussed in consecutive weeks. So far, so good. Not necessarily in that order. Great. F is discussed third. What's wrong with this?
Doesn't have to be third.
Doesn't have to be third. So it's too strong. It also sounds like it could be too weak because where's O going to go? Right? Okay. Any other questions on this game that you guys want to talk about? Okay.